Okay, so I'm sure my team has told you what's the flow of today. So you'll have 6 minutes to pitch, and João is here sharing a timer on his screen just to help you guide time. So please make sure to keep to the 6 minutes. We'll then have a short Q&A, and you'll be redirected to the main room where my colleagues will give you next steps and talk a bit about the experience with you. Sounds good?
Perfect, thank you.
Best of luck. Whenever you're ready.
Yes, I'm ready. Anytime. So, shall I start?
Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead.
Okay. First of all, hello and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alfredo Rivela, co-founder and CEO of Adaion. So let me start first with the team. Just one thing, you can trust us, and you can trust us both to help you navigate the energy transition, and as cooks, as you can see from our experience, we love tortilla de patatas. But jokes aside, I'm very proud of the team we are building up with a lot of experience as founders and company leaders. We do also have a lot of experience in distribution, starting with my business partner, Ignacio Cuerva, who is the owner of a small utility in the south of Spain, or Leo, who is the former head of utilities at Minsite Indra. But we do also have the mix of high-tech knowledge with a team with many, or some, maybe is better to say some, PhD on artificial intelligence and power systems. And coming from our lead investor, IPW, we also do have a lot of support in cybersecurity, because they are a super specialist in cybersecurity. As an example, Juan has a seat on the board of directors of WatchGuard Technologies, as you know, one of the leading companies in the space. But what problem do we solve? Why Adaion? So you probably know better than me that the grid is becoming a sort of a high-speed highway with thousands of devices pushing and pulling energy to and from the grid anytime, everywhere, especially in the low voltage. And this is creating these new type of situations we need to address. What Adaion is, basically, is a data-driven platform to support grid operations and planning. In a nutshell, what we do is to transform the power grid into a digital asset to help grid operators to gain visibility, predictability, and control. Can you imagine how crazy could it be to manage a grid like this with thousands or maybe millions of low voltage quality alerts coming from the grid every day? There's no single human that can deal with this amount of information. The grid has to be automated, and this vision is what drives our roadmap and every single feature we release in our product. In the operation side is what we call the grid operator copilot. So we is this digital companion that will help the grid operator know in advance what is going to happen, why it's happening, and how to fix it. On the planning, we are now facing a new type of task, planning the low voltage, planning the scenarios for massive VEIR deployment scenarios, or even planning how to automate the grid. Can we mesh the grid? Can we automate operations in meshing the grid, or maybe put in some smarter format? That's the questions we are solving. And of course, flexibility as a key element to support both operations and planning. I believe the best way to explain what we are doing and what is our competitive advantage is through pilots. We are going to propose to you 3 pilots. The very first one of these is the low voltage grid planning of EV charging stations with non-firm power. So meaning that the charging stations are in fact flexible assets. We have already demonstrated in our biggest client, Iberdrola, that we can reduce planning times from months to minutes, increasing the number of solutions without any additional investments by 30%. A project like this, our proposal, and we believe that can be executed in between 4 to 6 months, and highlight some of the tasks involved in this project, like generating the grid model in digital twin, or calculating the node capacity in the low voltage network. And the result will be a set of recommendations to the best locations to install the EV charging stations, and a set of reinforcement, grid reinforcement recommendations to support all these EV vehicles deployment. As I said, in between 4 to 6 months, I'm not going to go in detail on this planning, because probably if you like the pilot and you accept us, it will be part of the discussion process. The second one, it will be again around planning, but in this occasion, our approach is slightly different. It's an alternative to traditional grid reinforcement. When, as we know, this congestion and voltage problems will appear in our grids, instead of using traditional grid reinforcement, why not to automate the grid and to dynamically solve voltage problems operating the low voltage grid as a mesh network. The result of this project will be the best locations to mesh the grid when we have a problem, and the assets involved in this process, like lines and switches. Also, we will provide to you a set of recommendations of traditional reinforcement recommendations to compare the results both through meshing the grid or using traditional reinforcement techniques. Again, the project can be executed in between 4 to 6 months, and this is an example of the milestone in the schedule we can execute. And because I'm running out of time, the last one is more in the operation side, that is coming from something that is happening to the DSOs we are working with in Spain. They are facing a lot of claims and legal procedures due to grid quality. And in fact, they are losing money. So we are proposing to improve the grid quality by 40%. And we are helping the grid operator through this, dealing with these thousands of quality events. So it's a massive amount of information. And the result will be a list of potential recommendations, like changing the tap position, phase balancing, etc.
Thank you very much, Alfredo.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you. I'm sorry, I was a little late. Okay.
I'll give the words to Jetta, who will be leading the Q&A.
Sure. Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Alfredo, for the presentation. My question is, with over than 2.6 million in funding, and your platform is already available for purchase, what is Adaion next steps in terms of product development, market expansion, or technological advancements?
Thank you. Yeah, so we are still an early stage company, so the funds will go to continue improving the product. So we have what I could say initial signs of product market fit. So we want to continue being sure that the product market fit is right. And in terms of markets, our initial plan, and we are already exploring different options, it could be expanding to maybe our closest market, which is Europe, and then maybe America and Latin America. But the funding will be used basically in 2 to 3 years from now to clearly, so to have a not initial signs of product market fit, but to clearly prove that we have product market fit, and we can scale the sales process. So our real international expansion will happen in the next 2 years, is what we believe, after 2 years. And the funds will go to, of course, to grow the market, the team, the technical team, and the sales team, and the company as a whole.
Interesting. I have another question, if the time permits.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah.
But just to clarify, even if we are selling, I couldn't say we have a mature platform. It could be, I don't know, how can I say that, but it wouldn't be realistic. We have 3 years in the market, and we already have some proof, but we are not a finally mature product. I don't think the market is mature enough. Anyway, sorry.
So All right, I have a third question now. So the product is ready, right? You are selling the product,
Yes.
or I mean, which is the platform?
Mm-hmm.
All right, because my company is really interested in in your startup, and we have
Okay.
selected you.
Okay.
And
Sorry, I didn't put your logo, but we understood that you didn't have a distribution network, and probably I messed that. Sorry.
yeah, right. So maybe I have a little bit technical question. Could you
Okay.
elaborate on the type of AI technologies or algorithms Adaion is uses to transform the power grid into the digital assets? How these technologies enable you to offer superior visibility. This is, I think I read it in the documentation that you made it available.
Yeah. So
Predictability and control compared to the traditional grid management systems.
okay.
Please.
So we are using a sort of variety of in general AI techniques. In the short term, for example, we don't need neural networks. We are using, for example, linear regression approaches mixed with fuzzy approaches as well. For example, when we are forecasting in the long term, or we are, for example, something we can do is if we have the smart meters measures every 24 hours, and we have measures of from the heater every 5 minutes, we can forecast in real time the voltage and current at the supply point, and we are doing that using neural networks. For example, another example in the planning side, we are using meta-heuristic methods. So we are mixing simulations plus heuristics. On the heuristic side, we are using, in general, but it's not a unique approach, we are using genetic algorithms. So depending on the challenge,
Apologies, I'll have to interrupt once again.
Okay,
thank you. Thank you for joining us, and congratulations on joining the top 60 of free electrons. And we'll be in touch. If you jump into the next room, my colleague Diana will give you further instructions. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. I think we will be redirected automatically, right, or not?
If you exit the room, then you'll be redirected automatically to the other.
Okay. So
thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
We'll be in touch. Okay, so we're now ready to welcome Rashid from Concept AI. Hi Rashid, how are you doing today? You're muted, I believe.
He's not muted, but we can't hear you, Rashid.
Okay, Rashid, I would ask you to please share your screen.
Can't hear you, and I think he can't hear us.
Can you hear us, Rashid?
Rashid, can you maybe write in the chat? Let me know if you're using Zoom on the browser or on the application. I think you might have gotten muted because of that.
I think I can hear you now. If
Okay, there it is. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Now.
And congratulations on making it to the top 60 of free electrons. We have a room full of people very, very eager to learn more about your solution. So if you can share the screen, please. You know the drill. You have 6 minutes to pitch, and then we'll have a brief Q&A, so only 4 minutes. Please be time sensitive, as otherwise I'll have to interrupt. But best of luck.
Thank you very much. And
Whenever you're ready, you can start.
absolutely ready to go now. Brilliant. Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting us to the pitch presentation. I'm Rachit Khare, founder and CEO of ConceptX. We are an AI inspection software business headquartered here in London, and we have been going strong since 2020. So we believe there's untapped potential in asset inspections and management within utilities. As utilities, of course, you have the mandate to make your infrastructure more resilient, bring energy at an affordable price to your customers, and of course, be able to bring in more renewable energy within your energy mix. A lot of this links back to how you manage your infrastructure, including the O&M costs, and how do you take care of an aging fleet of assets. We believe reliable, efficient, and scalable inspections underpin how you deliver against this promise. Needless to say, it's a very complex and time-consuming task. I'm sure everyone's aware of that here in the room. Emerging inspection technologies such as drones, robotics, satellites offer a way for that future vision where this can be done at scale. However, at the moment, we think it's running into implementation challenges, primarily due to the large volume of data it generates, as well as the semi-automated nature of the data and insight themselves. Essentially, it's data rich, but insights poor, and there's uncertainty in the analysis it produces. And that's where we believe machine vision can help us overcome this challenge. And this is what we as a business are squarely focused on. So we provide an AI inspection and monitoring software for your assets and your operating environments to help you run asset integrity and inventory inspections on one hand, and then on the other hand, manage your environmental hazards, encroachments, and even biodiversities around your structures. Renewable energies. So we are focused on two key sectors here. There's renewable energy generation and transmission and distribution. As you can see, we run through a list of different kind of asset inspections, from your regular annual inspections to vegetation management to post-event inspections, and also climate risk assessment. Till date, we have deployed this product to show heavy savings in inspection cost and time, almost up to 80%. We can actually find more damage and defects than human alone approach, and we can help you do this at scale. So increase the annual coverage of your inspections. So how does this work? Our solution in a nutshell uses or kind of works across any inspection range. So you can see short, mid, long range. We blend in data from multiple sensors, optical, thermal, LiDAR, and their likes, and it's a growing list really. It feeds into our cloud application Lambda, which is fine-tuned to your client-specific protocols, and out comes certain asset and site intelligence use cases such as ongoing monitoring or ad hoc inspections or predictive and preventive actions. What really sets us apart is how we have deployed and built our AI technology. So our technology is entirely flexible to work with multiple protocols, and it's not limited to either drones or helicopters or to satellites. We can actually find more damages through ML data fusion, which is basically blending insights from optical, thermal, LiDAR, and these different data sources. We have built our own internal approach using generative and contextual AI to actually find rare, nuanced defects. Defects are a low incidence rate problem or phenomena, which is an issue for machine learning models. Through our approach, we can actually find them. And we have a unique framework for expert in the loop, essentially enabling collaboration between AI and experts for higher precision and confidence in your results. The technology is already live and deployed. We are working with major utility in the US. For power line inspections, we are doing satellite vegetation management in Africa and wind turbine inspections in Europe. This gives you a sense of where all we operate at the moment. But we are a young company, but we are now live in the market. All our project starts, of course, with a pilot, which is what we hope to be doing with some of you. The idea is to ring fence the scope of what you want to demonstrate against. We look at one inspection type, could be structural, vegetation encroachment, coupled with one or multiple inspection methods, all underpinned for generating highest business value against a known feasibility use case. What we intend to deliver from this essentially is A, demonstrate how our technology can actually help you reduce costs, be as accurate or more accurate than human-only approach, and hopefully predict emerging damages which may have been missed. And we also recommend how to, or work with you to recommend how to deploy AI at scale, overcome internal data limitations, and ultimately realize value from deployment. All of this can be done on new acquisition of data or on your internal existing data within your organization. Our approach to pilots is essentially a time and cost bucks approach. So the idea is to run through three kind of phases, going from discovery, development, and validation. We usually, the discovery phase is 2 to 3 weeks, kind of the pre-planning phase really of before we kick off the actual pilot. The main part of the pilot is the development, where we work on kind of developing and deploying the machine learning models. The outcome from that is an ML software or our software fine-tuned to your inspection data and inspection reports, and of course, an accuracy assessment and value case validation. All of this we tend to cap around 25 to 40K USDs, again, depending on the use case or the scope that we end up shortlisting with you. Throughout the project, you will have our core team and our leadership available to work with you, including me, but also our tech leadership which includes senior data scientists and senior software developers, as well as folks with experience in change management for AI technology. And I think we look forward to hopefully get a chance to engage with you further on this.
Thank you very much, Rashid. So we have some people in the room that would like to pose some questions.
Yeah, thanks, Rashid. Quick questions. Look, there's a number of autonomous drone solutions on the market. We've tested some ourselves. Blue have been in the program. What's different about your solution? Why is it better than the ones already out there?
Sure. So we essentially work. We're not a hardware provider, so we don't really focus so much on the drone itself. Like you said, there are enough commercial grade drones available which can do data acquisition well. What we focus on is how to capture the right data for the actual inspection protocol, and then B, what do we do with the data? And that's where our internal AI models supersede what's out there in the market. So we in fact do partner with existing drone hardware.
Não faço ideia o que é esta merda.
Keep talking. Okay, another question. You talk about two use cases, renewables of blade inspections on wind turbines and overhead lines. What's the split of your business? Is it 50-50 or what's the split? Where is your focus?
Yeah, I would say overall it's around 40-60, 40% in winds and now 60% in energy transmission distribution. Just for full context, we actually started within wind energy as our first use case in industry vertical, and from there expanded into energy distribution.
Can you test wind turbine blades that are moving, or does it have to be stationary?
We do both. So we have done studies which are drone-based inspections that there it has been stationary, but primarily because we are doing surface and subsurface inspection. So that was optical plus thermal, which required a certain positioning of the blades. We have done stationary blades using another partner of ours for ground-based cameras, where we can do it with blades in motion.
So where do you get the training data for the blades and for the lines?
Yeah. So twofold. One is based on real world data, but second, like I was saying, we actually deploy generative and synthetic data approaches internally as well. They're fine-tuned to make sure that they replicate real world data in terms of damages. And that actually has helped us to really accelerate the amount and type of defects which we can detect.
And how many clients have you got so far?
So we have 7 clients, or we have worked with 7 clients. Some of them are projects though, so they have closed, which we will be re-engaging them with on soon.
And which free electrons partner are you targeting?
So we are looking for actually 2 or 3 that might be of interest for us. So ESB certainly has some work going on, or we believe has work going on in that space, along with EDP and Adaion. So those are the 3 that we would be most interested in.
Okay, look, great pitch, good answers. Anybody got any more questions here? Open it to the floor.
Any other questions? Not even online. So Rashid, thank you very much for joining us, and best of luck. If you join my colleague Diana in the other room, she'll indicate you some next steps, and you can hope to hear from us in the future. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Cheers.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, so up next it's Tim and Max. They should be joining now, Maria.
Thank you, João. So up next we have VEIR, which will be represented here by Tim.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Hi team, how are you doing?
Good, how are you? We're excited to be here and ready to kick off as soon as you are.
Amazing. So whenever you're ready, very happy to have you here, and we wanted to congratulate you for joining the top 60 of free Electrons. We have a room full of people very eager to learn more about your solution. So whenever you're ready.
Excellent. My name is Tim Heidel. I'm the founder and CEO at VEIR. My colleague Max Luke is also here with me this morning. I'd love to spend the next 6 minutes introducing our company, and the motivation for what we're working on at VEIR really starts with the megatrends that are happening everywhere in the world, where, as you all are aware, fossil fuel generation is very quickly being replaced by renewables, and the electrification of everything is growing very, very quickly. And all of these trends, coupled with growth in data centers, coupled with aging infrastructure around the world, is resulting in a dramatic need to invest in additional transmission capacity in the next several decades. The chart on this slide comes from a recent analyst report looking at the historical growth in the US transmission grid. And then you notice that little red dot in the upper right-hand corner, corresponding to the transmission that's needed if we really get serious about solving climate change and decarbonizing our economy. And so somehow we have to go from this black line of the growth that we've known for decades to this orange line. And of course, the problem with that is transmission is exceptionally difficult to build. Nobody loves tall towers and wide right-of-ways cutting through pristine areas. And not only is there tremendous opposition, but that opposition and other factors lead to a dramatic increase in cost over the last decade. This is data that we subscribe to on North American transmission projects, looking at what proportion of those projects that are deployed every year end up costing greater than $8 million a mile. And what you can see here is a decade and a half ago, that was rare. And now we're seeing that nearly 10% of the market is deploying at what historically would have been considered to be an extremely costly project. And as we continue to try to accelerate this growth, unfortunately, this is likely to be a trend that continues. And so we need to think about, how do we deploy additional transmission capacity in a different way? Folks have been talking about and thinking about superconducting transmission for 3 decades. And there have been about 25 grid-connected projects around the world over the last 25 years. All of those projects have been technically successful, but none of them have been commercially viable. And you can trace that limitation really to 2 pieces. One is the high temperature of superconducting material historically. That is rapidly changing with the adoption by the fusion community of high temperature superconductors around the world. And second are limitations of the cooling system. VEIR is developing a novel approach to cooling high temperature superconducting transmission lines that dramatically simplify the system and improve reliability, dramatically reduce the cost, and finally allow us for the very first time to deploy overhead at distance. Historically, superconducting projects have always been urban core projects underground. They've been limited in distance to a couple of kilometers. Using our new approach to cooling, we believe we can unlock long distance lines, and we can use the same overhead right-of-ways that have always been used for existing transmission, and yet we can fit 5 to 10 times more power through those same right-of-way spaces. In summary, what we're aiming to do as a company is take transmission lines that look like this, that tower over the landscape and face a ton of opposition, and in many cases take a decade or more to deploy at this point, and carrying the same power, make them look like this. We founded VEIR 4 years ago, and today we've grown the team to 50 dedicated professionals with a really deep leadership team. industry-leading investors and a great set of advisors that are really helping us navigate this very challenging environment to bring new technology into an industry with the absolute highest expectations of safety, reliability, longevity. And it's a challenge that we're excited by every day. We've been making great progress over the last couple of years as well. We started with trying to do a technology proof of concept in our lab. We're based outside of Boston in the US. And these are some pictures from December of 2022, when we, for the very first time, suspended an overhead superconducting transmission line and passed 4,000 amps of DC current through that line. The first time that we're aware of anybody deploying superconducting cables in a suspended format. We then last year took that outside and did the same thing. This is meant to look like a 35 kV deployment, and yet in contrast to conventional 35 kV infrastructure that might carry 25 megawatts, our first generation product at 35 kV will carry 210 megawatts. We're actively building a customer pipeline now and starting to confirm early interest in our technology. We're focusing primarily on 4 different types of projects that we'll ultimately deploy. First, and I believe this will be where we go first, is large data centers and industrial loads that are having trouble getting right-of-ways and transmission lines or distribution lines to connect them to substations. These individual facilities are now consuming 300 to 500 megawatts of power, and historically would have required high voltage transmission. We can pass that same power at modest voltages in the 35 to 69 kV, and maybe even down to 10 kV. We're also focusing on renewable developers trying to access the grid, as well as utilities facing severely constrained corridors and trying to avoid the need to go underground, which of course has been extremely costly historically. We're not trying to compete with blue sky easy overhead transmission. Instead, we're focused exclusively on hard, difficult projects where we become the best alternative and the cheapest alternative compared to both undergrounding and difficult overhead deployments. We are aiming to deploy a 60 megawatt pilot of our project in about 2 years, and I think that's where this program really fits very well for us. And we'd love to talk about that in more detail as we get further and further down this pipeline. With that, I'd be very excited to turn it over to Q&A.
Thank you very much, team. So I'll pass the word to EDP.
Hi, team. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hello, my name is Francisco. I'm from EDP. Thank you for your pitch. I have here one question about the cooling system that you were talking about. So the nitrogen. So how do you recycle? First question, do you recycle the nitrogen? Or if so, how do you do this recycling of the nitrogen when the cooling system cools down the cable?
So we don't recycle the nitrogen. Nitrogen is low cost enough and in bulk supply available. We believe that the simplification you get from venting the nitrogen back to atmosphere. Of course, 80% of the air that you breathe is nitrogen, and it's pulled from the air for generation. And so we actually use a once-through process where you're using existing air separation facilities and truck delivery. For longer lines, we anticipate that we will ultimately site nitrogen generation on site co-located with our transmission lines. And that probably makes sense when you're talking about a line that is 10 miles or longer, broadly speaking. Now, we've done some analysis on the energy that's used for generating that nitrogen. And typically that's going to be less than the energy associated with I²R losses in conventional conductors carrying the same amount of power.
Okay, but just to clarify, so you release the nitrogen, you have to have some specific facility, so a purification station to do that, or it's just the nitrogen is clean and you can release it as it is?
Yeah, so the nitrogen is clean and non-toxic and can be released. We release it from pole top mounted heat exchange equipment that's inside the high voltage envelope mounted to pole tops roughly every kilometer along the line. They look like distribution transformers. So this is an image of what one of those looks like. And then in the demo that we did last year, you can see that here. And so you have a small amount of nitrogen that's constantly being vented from this pole top container. When you're standing on the ground or looking at the transmission line, you can't actually see anything happening because it immediately disperses and dilutes into the surrounding air.
Okay, perfect. Another question. In your presentation, you focus a lot on overhead lines, but are you thinking, or do you have in your roadmap some underground applications of your technology, and even subsea for offshore wind farms, for example?
We certainly intend to get there. So we believe that the main advantages of our cooling system also apply to underground and ultimately to subsea applications. Those are quite a bit smaller markets with even more risk aversion generally because of the challenge and the cost of deploying them. And so strategically, we've first focused on overhead, and we believe that that's where we'll first pilot and build the credibility in a new technology. But then ultimately, as we start to build towards that scale, underground is going to be something that we absolutely will spend a lot of time on.
And circling again to the cooling system, just to have an idea, what's the percentage of CapEx does the cooling system represent, and also the superconductor?
So the superconducting material itself is the largest portion of our broad CapEx today. That is 75% of the cost of a transmission line using VEIR technology. That cost is falling dramatically. So ultimately, it becomes a smaller and smaller portion. The cooling system components are actually not a major cost driver in the overall system, other than the vacuum insulated pipes that encase the cable. So in the picture that's in front of you here, what you're looking at here, this black cable, is our prototype cable. That's actually a vacuum insulated pipe with a cable inside of it. It looks similar in diameter to a conventional conductor, so it's actually hard to see that difference. But that vacuum insulated pipe is also a major cost driver for us.
Thank you.
Is it 10 times the price of a regular line, or what's the ratio compared to a normal overhead line?
So we expect that our initial lines will be deployed in the $10 to $12 million a mile range. Compare that to somewhere between 3 and 6 using conventional conductors today, but is directly compatible with the costs that you see in difficult projects facing right-of-way issues or indirect routing, and should be far lower cost than what you deploy underground for the same capacity.
Thank you, team. Thank you for joining us today, and best of luck. If you join my colleague Diana in the next room, she'll give you some next steps, and we'll be in touch. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
You stop sharing the screen, I think it will be easier. Amazing.
Now you just click on your bottom right corner button.
I see.
Tim says exactly. Okay, so Natalia and Marcel should be entering now. Maria.
That's here. Hey. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Marcel.
We are Natalia and Marcelo from Kauel.
Amazing. Can you please share the screen? So we have, as you can see, a room full of utility partners, very eager to learn more about Kauel's solution. So whenever you're ready, you know the flow. So you have 6 minutes to pitch, followed by 4-minute Q&A. And if you look at Joel's screen, you can see the timer to help guide. Whenever you're ready, thank you very much.
We are ready.
And go ahead.
Perfect. Well, hello, everyone. We are Kauel. I'm Marcelo Vega. I'm going to present our solution to combat wildfires. Well, I want to say something that is very well known, and it's not something new, that wildfires are increasingly all over the world with the climate change are augmenting in a very, very hard way. So, and that's only not just representing a lot of loss in billions of dollars, but also a lot of loss in personal life and insurance. So, but the problem is that it also attacks directly to the utilities. And why? Because many times the infrastructure of utilities are responsible for the wildfires. So, and that's include billions of dollars in losses for the companies. If some companies actually in the world may bankrupt because of a wildfire that they start. So, well, the real cost is billions of dollars. But it's not just that one, as I mentioned. It's business closures, health of people, carbon footprint, realize it's only the CO2 emission. It's you can say like in worldwide more than 10 billion in just CO2. So it's and the problem is that climate change will make this number increase over time. So we need to do something. Well, in order to try to mitigate, the response time is key. So for early detection to early action. And I want to share with you some how we can handle that. So we have a full solution that starts detecting or monitoring the assets with aerial drones or satellites, cameras, very, very different inputs. And then we consolidate that data and in the cloud, and we process with AI, and the AI can detect early signs of fire. And then, of course, we can process, put in servers, and then you have different platforms to manage all what's going on with the fire. As I mentioned, we start detecting the fire, and for that we use AI. And you can see AI here with a camera. It's in California. It's used by Edison. That's an utility in California. And let me share with you very, very quick. This is a actual real video of a wildfire, and you can see the camera is detecting, but not just the flume of smoke, but you can also see in action when detects some fires in other parts of the image. So that's with that we can reduce the time that takes to detect the fire. Let me move over. Thank you, Natalia. So the information is processed in real time, and we alert with a very simple pattern. So we have a green light that's a low risk, medium risk, or a red light that's a huge risk of fire. You can see this is a little image of our platform. I'm not gonna get more in detail on that, but you can see the image. You can see some parts with in your right that's showing where is concentrated danger zones, and you can see down below the alerts with the light that I already mentioned. And you have all of detail of every event. And you can see, of course, in your computer, but also in your mobile phone. So the people who need to respond quickly has all the information in their mobile just in the minute that is occurring. Okay, and where we stand? I mean, we have other competitors doing the same, but data is key here, and we have so many miles flown. Moreover, that our competitors that give us a very unfair advantage. And the other thing that we have top algorithm all over the world, so we have very, very high assertiveness. That's very important because you don't want to miss any wildfire. And the delivery time also for that, because we are doing online, is very quick. And just to finish, and because we are very specialized in just fire, we are much better than the big players that are very wild, like the Amazon or others that has a lot of AI, but for many things. So we are specialized in what we do. Well, in terms of traction, we start 2021 with one customer. We grow in LATAM, and we expect to grow in Europe and all around the world. The market potential, well, if two things are increasing, we are monitoring more installation, but also monitor more frequently. So that's get us to have more revenue incomes. In terms of roadmap, I don't know, I'm gonna start much here, but we're in the ignition phase and we are growing, and we expect to start growing with you guys. We are looking for a utility that wants to partner with us to start using the solution and take the advantage of using our solution, and we want to grow and want to get the solution to the utilities, because we think that's very, very important. And and for that we have I'm finished with that. This is our top team. We have many people from doctor and AI and myself, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your pitch. So now Q&A. I believe Sajid is with us online.
Oh, yes, sorry.
I'm sorry. Carry on, please.
Do you use geostationary satellites? And if not, how often do the satellites used pass?
Yes. No, we don't use just satellites. We are kind of agnostic to the data input. We have many data inputs. In the case of the video that I show, we use terrestrial cameras that are put in different poles. So we combine different solutions. And of course, that depends of the area. We have almost many times during the day a visit zone. So we use a combined solution that combines the satellite image with a terrestrial image to have a full coverage 24/7.
Any other questions? Sajid?
Yes. Hi, Marcelo. Thank you so much for the presentation.
Hello.
All right. I recently accessed your website, and I've noticed too many technologies. Let me check. Artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality, Internet of Things, big data, machine learning analytics, to the limit that for a split of a second, I forgot what is the product. What is the product, and how your products combines all these technologies?
Perfect. Very good question, because I mean, things like we are growing fast, so we has a different solution, but the product itself is using AI over different footage image to very early detect the fire, and of course alert. So I'm gonna say that we call Kauel alert, and the model is Kauel fire. So we detect very early the fire automatically with AI and report the fire to the people who's in charge of taking care of that. I don't know if that clear.
To that, well, Kauel specializes in artificial intelligence over images, image processing, and optimizing this process to run real smoothly in any device. So Kauel Fire is one of the modules we have for our platform. Our platform is specialized on the energy sector, oil and gas companies, and electricity producers. And we have very different models to address very different challenges like vegetation management, third-party threats, leaks, and others among those. And fire is one of those, and fire is being increasingly important. So we want to move forward rapidly with this development.
Thank you, Natalia. So we have time for one last question. Anyone in the room or online?
How many devices on average are needed to monitor 1 kilometer of network?
Yeah, for 1 kilometer, I mean, our camera can see, I'm gonna say 3 kilometers. So you need less than one for 1 kilometer. Yeah. but depends. We try to optimize. We put some IoT. So normally, I'm gonna say for you can be very safe with having one IoT or one device every 5 to 10 kilometers.
Okay.
Thank you, Marcel and Natalia. Thank you very much. A big round of applause for Kauel.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
If you joined the main room here on Zoom, my colleague Diana will give you some next steps. Thank you very much once again, and best of luck. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Oh, that came on calor.
Those guys are from Chile, not United States. Yeah, it's okay. It's fine. I'm not sure.
Oh, can you exit the room?
No yet.
There, leave the room. You have in your bottom
Bottom right corner, yeah. Marcelo.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marcel.
Excellent. Okay.
So just a quick note to everyone in the room. So for those online, we need you to have your microphones muted unless when you are asking a question, okay? Because it's quite disruptive for the startups. And please make sure to have the tag identifying which utility you belong to, okay? So everyone in the pitch room should have the identification of which utility they belong to. Thank you.
All right, great. First 4 startups. Great news. We have 56 to go. Well done. I think you behaved very, very well. So let's use this kind of moment before the next batch to use our collective intelligence and just comment on the startups that we just heard. They are Adaion, Concept X, Kauel, and VEIR. Just as a recap, Kauel had a top 3 votes from JIRA and VEIR a top 3 from EDP. And then Adaion had interest from JIRA and Hydro-Quebec, and Concept X interest from EDP and ESB. Shall we start with Adaion? Thoughts? Impressions? Am I saying it wrong?
No.
Oh. What slide? Thoughts, impressions. What do you guys think about Adaion?
I think everyone's still digesting.
I think we need to take the time to write down the notes.
And then we talk about it. Okay. So shall we do it after the second group, and then we do all 8? Okay.
Yeah, we can do a data brief.
All right.
So
Next batch.
the rating right now, right? Or when is the next batch? Or in 5 minutes?
What is next one? In 5 minutes? 6 minutes. Okay. I know. It's not for me. I'm president. Did I say? Okay, for those online, we'll be back at 3 p.m. Okay, so 5 minutes.
Okay, everybody, so just to clarify, we'll be back in 5 minutes. Small break. Enjoy your coffee, tea, water.
Thanks, Chris.
Brian, is it you just sent on the document in that link? You didn't send on the link. Oh, why? Because they can't get it in Superhomes, is it? Okay. Okay.
Free Electrons meeting. Join the
Yeah, they let you in and then just say when they join you, just tell them you're with ESB and then they put you into a room. Yeah, it takes a bit of time to get in.
So just another second as the rest of the group gathers. Yeah, let's gather back in the pitch room. Again, please, everyone, keep your mics turned off unless you're asking a question, and make sure to identify which utility you are from here in the name. Right? Yeah. So how is everyone feeling? Good? Okay, so let's keep the enthusiasm high. Startups are quite nervous, and we're all very eager to learn about their solutions, so let's keep the enthusiasm. Let's bump it up. They're coming down. Manuel, just ask them. Okay.
Okay, Maria, so Carl is now joining.
Okay, thank you, Carl. Thank you, Joel. So we're now welcoming Carl from Aqua-Cell Energy. Hi, Carl. How are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Amazing. Congratulations on making it to the top 60 of free electrons.
Thank you.
So you already know the flow. So you'll have 6 minutes to pitch, and it will be followed by 4 minutes Q&A. So whenever you're ready, please go ahead.
Perfect. Thanks for having me today. I'm Carl Bach, co-founder and CEO of Aqua-Cell Energy. Aqua-Cell is an energy flexibility platform. We connect behind-the-meter assets, electric vehicles, batteries, electric heating and cooling to flexibility markets. As you know, the electricity system needs to stay in balance every second of every minute of every day of the year. And as we get more renewables on the grid, that becomes harder and harder because we cannot choose when the sun shines and the wind blows. At the same time, we're electrifying transport, electrifying heat, electrifying industry, and many of these newly electrified assets are inherently flexible. We can shift around in time and space when we charge a car, when we heat a building. Both of these trends are growing at pace. We're deploying renewables at scale in many parts of the world, including many of the regions where you operate. And at the same time, we're deploying electrified assets and flexible assets across the world. So the major driver here is EVs, but we're also seeing things like heat pumps and solar and storage deployed at scale. The challenge is that today these exist in two separate worlds. We have renewables on one side, and we have electrified assets on the other. And Aqua-Cell builds the virtual wires, the backend infrastructure that connects these assets on one side with flexibility markets on the other. Aqua-Cell's software supports the end-to-end journey required to connect these flexible assets into energy markets. And this includes 4 key steps. The first is connecting to assets. Aqua-Cell connects to assets that are already in homes and businesses via API, no additional hardware required. Next is market connection. So Aqua-Cell goes through the pre-qualification process to ensure that these assets meet the technical requirements to participate in the flexibility markets run at the transmission and distribution level. Third is forecasting and optimization. So determining what flexible profile 10,000 EVs has is, of course, different than determining the biddable capacity of a single generating unit. And Aqua-Cell takes the data required from all of these systems to determine what can be bid into market and when, and then how to optimally distribute those bids across the different flexibility markets. This also leads to control. So because Axel is connected directly to this hardware via API, we're able to dispatch these assets to deliver on the required response. And finally, a settlement and payment. So settlement is proving to the grid operators that we did what we said we were going to do. And then payment is ensuring that the money flows back to the consumer at the end of the day. Utilities and OEMs today monetize flexibility via single integration with Axel. So Axel is integrated with the core flexibility markets. We're a UK-based entity, but we operate in flexibility markets in the UK and Europe today. And via a single integration, we're able to unlock about £500 of value per asset per year for our utility and OEM partners. We started the business about a year ago, and we've had strong traction to date. We have about 75 megawatts of assets under management participating in flexibility markets today, and that's spread across 15,000 assets. We're growing at pace. Our existing partners have about 800,000 assets, and we're in the process of bringing more and more of them into flexibility markets. And of course, the more assets on system, the better able we are to create value for our partners. The more data we have, that means we're better able to forecast when an existing asset will be available. That means we can create more value in the markets. And this isn't in a single market. This is across many markets, since most of these markets are cross-border. And finally, there's more market power here. So as the grid balancing ecosystem switches from typically generation to demand-side flexibility, that means that there's more power had and more pricing power had in the assets that are able to be flexed. Today, most flexibility comes from large-scale assets, and a traditional aggregator will say, give me 50 megawatts to flex, and I'll flex. Of course, when you're talking about 10,000, 100,000, millions of flexible assets, the challenge is, how do you get that 50 megawatts in the first place? And Axel is a software company first and foremost, and we built the software that supports the end-to-end journey from connecting the asset, getting those assets into market, and then actually monetizing them to ensure that whatever the asset is, whatever it is, we're able to take into account the needs of the user, the needs of the grid to create the most value possible. I'm joined by my co-founder, Archie, and a team of energy experts. We have a background building software in this space, and we look forward to seeing how we can work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. So up next, I'm going to open for a Q&A here with Origin. So we have Cameron Briggs.
Hey, Carl. Cameron here from Origin. Congratulations to you and your co-founder. You've done really well with a small amount of capital in terms of gaining traction and proving up what you can do. Could you give us a sense, if you're already the market participant, what's the role, what's the business model between you and a prospective utility look like?
Yeah, so we are able to be the market participant if that's a service that would be helpful for you, or we can provide you with an aggregated flexibility that your existing trading team can use to its own devices. So for instance, if you'd like to help manage your imbalance position from the aggregated capacity of your EVs or other flexible assets, you can do that based off of your own books instead of using us as a route to market.
Right, so you can do flexibility as a service or just provide SaaS as well. Okay, got it. Okay. Given your extensive, I guess, exposure and experience in the European markets, what's your capacity and interest to go into other markets, whether it be North America, Australia, Asia? Do you want to focus on Europe, or are you happy to look at other markets globally?
Yeah, so we're focused on market-based energy systems, which of course isn't everywhere in the world. It does exist in the markets that you mentioned where most of the utilities, including Origin, operate. But anywhere where there are existing energy and crucially flexibility markets, we're interested in participating.
Okay. I mean, in your talk, you mentioned, the hardest thing is getting those 50 megawatts, not just talking about it. What do you think is the biggest barrier to really get this flexibility world happening at a scale that makes sense? What are the biggest barriers in terms of adoption and deployment, do you think?
Yeah, so of course, these assets, for the most part, have a primary purpose that is not providing flexibility to the grid. So the software needs to deliver enough trust to the end user that this won't get in the way of whatever purpose they have. And so building that trust, proving that this is purely additive for them, that they are still able to drive to the shop, heat their home, what have it, and are able to see additional revenue, we believe is crucial, unlocking distributed flexibility at scale.
Okay, thank you. So I was at Distributech a week and a half ago in Florida, and I was speaking to a number of people about this kind of space. And one of the things that's come up particularly recently is security, cybersecurity, particularly around large amounts of distributed assets. How do you see that unfolding, and who do you see is ultimately responsible for making sure that large-scale distributed energy systems are secure?
Yeah, so energy is critical infrastructure, whether it's coming from a large power plant or thousands of distributed assets, and it should be treated as such. We've seen, at least in the UK and Europe, that there are new licensing regimes to ensure that distributed flexibility follows the same requirements as everyone else. But it's also up to us to ensure that we're maintaining the highest standards across the board, even if the regulation is not quite there.
Okay. Who are your target utilities? What do you see as a pilot?
Yeah, so many of the utilities on this call are operating in regions with high degrees of renewable penetration and in markets with high EV heat pump penetration, et cetera. So I see potential across the board. I see a potential pilot here as a proposition to end users where end users can participate in flexibility markets and receive additional income for doing so, where Aqua-Cell helps to provide the software to enable that for the utility partner.
And do you think that the end outcome will be proving people about the economics or proving people about the efficacy of deploying these assets?
I believe ultimate growth here stems from the economics, and if we're able to deliver economic value for end users, of course, while maintaining trust, that's the core requirement to doing this, not just at a pilot scale, but at a true grid level material impact.
Cool. Thank you. Excellent answers.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Carl. And if you join my colleague Diana in the other room, she'll give you some further directions. So a big round of applause.
Thank
you. Thank you all. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for joining us today, Carl. Amazing. So we'll have Keith from Aqua-Cell joining us now.
Should be entering now.
Perfect. Thank you, João. Hi, Keith. Maria here from Free Electrons.
Hey, good to meet
Thank you for joining us today. Lovely to meet you. And congratulations for making it to the top 60 of Free Electrons. We have a room full of people here very eager to learn more about your solution. So a lot of people joining both in person and online. If you can share your screen, and whenever you're ready, you know you have 6 minutes to pitch, which will be followed by a quick 4-minute Q&A. And wish you the best luck whenever you're ready.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot. Are you able to see my screen there?
Exactly. Perfect.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to attend today and introduce myself. My name is Keith Cleland. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Aqua-Cell Energy. And yeah, let's get right started here. So at Aqua-Cell Energy, we are building giant batteries made of water and salt, which we will use to lower the rising cost of electricity and get to net zero goals faster. We plan to sell these batteries to both commercial industrial facilities as well as the grid operators, specifically the distribution grids, struggling to find ways to store electricity for hours at a time to be able to lower their costs of electricity. So we are looking at, we all know we need energy storage to make it to net zero, but what we find is there is a lack of energy storage options at this medium scale. So we consider that to be commercial industrial facilities who pays the high cost of electricity, as well as the electricity distribution grids, who are tasked with finding ways to provide infrastructure as we electrify basically everything. So there's millions of dollars that need to get spent, but in Canada, where I'm from, we're looking at doubling the electricity grid by 2035, just to support electrification of vehicles and heating. So that's going to require major infrastructure upgrades. So what we're looking at is a way to provide a battery technology to do that. So both of these segments, they want to save money with renewable energy, use electricity for more than 12 hours a day as we get longer peaks, but there are no battery technologies readily available. You know, for example, on the small scale, you can use lithium batteries. People do that for long duration to invest in their homes. And on the very large scale, if you want a long duration battery, you could use pumped hydro storage or compressed air, a number of other solutions. But these are only cost effective above 20 megawatts. So this leaves this medium scale where we are looking at commercial industrial facilities, distribution grids, where Aqua-Cell can be cost competitive and provide a battery technology that can help service this medium scale. So that's where the Aqua-Cell saltwater flow battery comes in. We can store energy with our saltwater flow battery to enable massive cost savings for this medium scale. We have long duration energy storage. We're targeting 12 to 24 hours, but in theory, we can go up to days of energy storage because we're using a low cost electrolyte. And we can scale up extremely fast to make it to this market because the battery itself is based on existing water treatment technology. So we can basically repurpose this water treatment equipment to function as a flow battery, meaning we can get to market extremely fast. So that way, at the end of the day, we can have affordable, clean energy that is both reliable and secure. So a couple ways that we know our customers can use this battery is just the simple arbitrage value. You can charge the battery when all the renewables are running on the grid. That's low cost. Discharge it when the electricity is much higher. And at the same time, providing infrastructure for the grid. Another option is deferring the upgrades of distribution systems. As you get closer and closer to your peak demand and the distribution line capacity is being reached, you can start to install a battery as a way to defer upgrades. So rather than investing millions of dollars in new distribution line equipment, you can invest that in energy storage to mitigate those peak demands, even if they are 12-hour peaks, so that you can make some smarter decisions about planning the grid as you grow. And you know, if you do end up installing a substation, the batteries are designed to be portable in shipping containers, so you can move to a new location. So some of the Aqua-Cell advantage, we have an inherently safe chemistry. We don't use lithium batteries or lithium metal, so there's no conflict minerals, no child labor. We can actually charge the battery at 4 times the rated power, which is a unique feature of our battery. And ultimately, this will be used to save millions of dollars on power line infrastructure to support affordable, reliable, clean electricity. And rather than investing in power line infrastructure, you can invest in a battery that will then generate revenue for you and ultimately result in millions of tons in CO2 reduction. So where we're at now, we've scaled up our technology from the lab scale to our full-scale battery stack. We've been the fastest flow battery company to get to the stack level. These are 0.5 kilowatt to 1 kilowatt stacks. And the idea is to scale up further from here, we just integrate a number of these into a shipping container, which becomes our 50 kilowatt module. From there, we're looking at a commercial launch next year after the installation of this 50 kilowatt pilot. Skip over that slide. So how you can engage with Aqua-Cell is we start out with a feasibility study. So we are installing this pilot in Canada at the beginning of 2025, this 50 kilowatt unit. We can use that to scope out the design of a future pilot on the range of 250 kilowatts and the 16-hour pilot, 250 kilowatts in 16 hours. So we want to get involved with as many people as we can right now, utilities who are interested in further scale pilot projects. So we can install this 250 kilowatt pilot, focus on data collection, and really get focused on a site study for full-scale installations in the 0.5 megawatt to 2 megawatt range. The feasibility study, we can look at right now at ideal applications and use cases, look at the power and energy usage, where are the areas of grid congestion on your grid, and find out what sites are most applicable, and prioritize the areas where you'll save the most cost on electricity. So right now we are fundraising to build out this 50 kilowatt unit. We're raising $2 million US for that. But our key ask from the Free Electrons group is to get involved with pilot project partners, get involved with our pilot we're installing now so we can look at new pilots for the 250 kilowatt scale. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time and look forward to any questions and future collaborations with Aqua-Cell Energy.
Thank you. So we'll now open for Q&A.
Okay, so I can start with some questions. Thank you for the presentation, Kirisaner here from EDP. You mentioned some figures around the pricing for the battery, the cost per megawatt hour. Can you provide some figures on current cost and expected pricing in the upcoming years?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are still figuring out our pricing model as we scale up, but we are expecting pricing in the range of $300 per kilowatt hour. And we're looking at 15, 16-hour systems. So that will be more reflective of our pricing. Our cost model will be a little bit lower than that, but as we scale up, we'll get to more. We expect near 2030 to be a lot lower on the pricing. We're looking at levelized cost of storage around $90 a megawatt hour. So yeah, so for example, we might be looking at the order of $3.5 million for a 500 kilowatt 16-hour battery. That's what we're looking at initially, but these will change as we grow and scale our technology.
Okay, I think you started to answer my second question, which would be for let's say the 250 kilowatt pilot project. What would be, as of now, an estimated capex for a project like this?
Right. So as we are scaling up, we still need to bring our manufacturing capacity in-house. So for the 250 kilowatt pilot project, we might be looking in the range of $1.5 to $2 million, and we would likely get that subsidized by grants because our costs are going to be high at this piloting stage. We're going to be scaling up, bringing manufacturing capacity in-house over the next couple of years, and that's what's really going to drive our costs down. So for the first couple pilot projects, we're looking at an investment from the utility partners as well as grants to support the rest of the project going, as this will be a first-of-a-kind installation.
Okay, putting the grids use case aside, so looking at the factories and more the B2B industry, which are the ideal industries where this could be a fit?
Yeah, so we've looked at any industrial facilities who are in the megawatt scale, say half a kilowatt up to 20 megawatts, and use electricity consistently. So example I always like to use are like greenhouses. They might be producing electricity at a megawatt or two, and they run electricity for 12 hours a day, and the electricity is the main source of their operating costs. So we can reduce the demand charge on the 12-hour peak, but more importantly, the energy charge, we can shift that to when the electricity is not being used. So another example are manufacturing facilities on an 8-hour, 12-hour, or 16-hour shift, running electrical equipment the whole time. And then, some added benefits. I've seen some industries who are in grid congested areas. You can use the battery as a way to, charge off peak, and then run the battery on peak to actually enable them to use electricity where they otherwise couldn't.
Okay. Any questions in the room?
Round trip efficiency? Yeah.
Go ahead. Round trip efficiency.
We're expecting round trip efficiency in the range of 60 to 70% for this battery technology.
Okay. Do you have any geographical limitations for this pilot project? Any ideal locations on where to do this?
We're exploring a number of different locations. I mean, we are a Canadian-based company, so we are looking at pilots in Canada. However, I'm currently in the Bahamas right now on a trade mission exploring pilot applications down here because they have some of the most expensive electricity in the world. So we are open to location as it will be a fully automated battery system for this pilot. So
sold pilot in the Bahamas it is.
Thank you very much, Keith.
Absolutely. Thanks for your time and attention, and hope to connect.
So if you join my colleague Diana in the other room, she'll give you some further instructions on next steps. And once again, congratulations on making it to the top 60. It was a pleasure to have you here.
Great to meet you. Thank you. Bye now.
So now entering, we have Adaion and Guillaume from Fex Energy.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Hi, Adaion. How are you doing today?
Excellent, thank you. How are you doing?
Will is also here on the call already.
Correct.
Nice to have you both.
Thank you very much.
First of
A
all,
pleasure to be here.
congratulations on joining us on the pitch event here as a top 60 startup for the Free Electrons 2024 edition.
Thank you.
We're as excited as we are. We have a room full of people, many others joining online, everyone very eager to know a bit more about Fex Energy's solution. So whenever you're ready.
Eager to tell you about it. Yeah, let me share my screen.
Please go ahead.
You see the screen share?
Perfectly.
Awesome. Okay. So did you know you can store energy in iron? What if there was a way to solve the energy trilemma, providing reliable, affordable, and fully decarbonized energy while creating a multi-billion-dollar business at the same time? I'm here to tell you that that's exactly what FEX Energy aims to do by unlocking the safe, stable, dense, and fully decarbonized energy contained in iron. Our hope is to pique your interest in the vast potential of our iron energy storage solution and join the Free Electrons program in partnership with some of the world's greatest utilities to make it a reality. We live in an amazing world where the cost of wind and solar offer a near zero marginal cost of energy without carbon emissions. So why then is the actual cost of energy increasing to the end user? This is because renewables are intermittent and not available on demand, requiring a fossil backbone. For the utility, this is painful because it means having to overdeploy and maintain assets at a huge cost and land requirements. This also leads to grid congestion and curtailment, which wastes the lowest cost renewable energy and requires massive costs for transmission upgrades. To unlock the full potential of renewables, the need is clear. We need long duration energy storage. So to effectively switch from fossil fuels to clean energy without messing up the affordability and the reliability equation, you need energy storage. And while lithium-ion batteries and other technologies have begun to master the short duration domain, they become very cost prohibitive above a few hours. And the time to innovate an affordable, stable, safe, and dense long duration energy storage solution is right now. Experts forecast that the market for these solutions will be up to 8 terawatts and about $3.5 trillion by 2040. Iron stores more energy than lithium-ion batteries by 160 times. It's 60% more dense even than fossil fuels, and it's the fourth most abundant Earth element. It's inherently safe, not explosive, toxic, or corrosive, and it's one of the largest transported commodities today. So it makes iron a perfect solution for very long duration energy storage, from days to months to even years without losses for heat and/or power applications. But how do you get the energy out of the iron? Well, FEX Energy is the unique solution for exactly that. Our proprietary iron reactor is packaged within industry standard subsystems using off-the-shelf components that are proven reliable and optimized to transfer and deliver heat or power. Charging occurs while energy prices are low, importing only clean electricity. Discharging occurs during periods of high energy prices, releasing heat in the form of hot air, up to 900 degrees C. The result is a decentralized energy storage system that stabilizes energy availability amidst fluctuating demand, and always ensuring uninterrupted and cost-effective energy at the same time. For the utility, this means happy clients, decarbonized energy to them while avoiding the need for deploying much more costly peak power infrastructure. For the end user, our solution offers the lowest cost for long-duration energy storage, most likely to fit within the footprint of traditional fossil-fueled equipment. While other energy storage solutions may be able to store energy without greenhouse gas emissions, only FEX Energy can do so for days, months, or even years without losses, and at an extremely low capex and long life. This makes FEX Energy the most competitive solution we've seen in long-duration storage where safety and footprint are key. We've heard that Free Electrons utilities need distributed energy resources, like FEX Energy's, to enable renewable deployment with minimal peak power and transmission losses. We'd like to partner with the utility to offer our solution. First, we'd like help to actually identify a factory or building for our pilot up to 100 kilowatts. And this pilot customer should really have a strong decarbonization need for their heat process up to 500 C. We see the utility as being able to contribute financially in the form of a subsidy or incentive to help us build the pilot, as well as in kind with support to integrate the solution between the grid really and the end user. On our roadmap to commercialization, we aim to minimize the time to deployment of our first commercial unit, which we aim to install by 2026. We've already raised the funds needed to prove our reactor's endurance and performance over many cycles, which is what we're progressing well with now on our prototype unit. The next steps of the roadmap is to pilot to burn down risks related to the reactor's operation, performance, and cost savings, all in an integrated system close to the actual product, while generating interest for future commercial units. We aim to secure a pilot customer and $250,000 in funding that we would leverage 3-to-1 to hire key roles and design and build the pilot unit. The biggest risks around the pilot itself are related to the unreliability or performance shortfalls of this first integrated system. And we'd mitigate these by limiting the pilot temperature to 500 instead of 900 degrees C, as well as selecting a highly competent engineering firm to design and fabricate the pilot with us. And we would test it, of course, prior to running it at the client site. If we get to the integrated system functionality and we get that all right, the follow-on steps would be to build a first deployment unit around 1 megawatt and establish partnerships in manufacturing facilities to build our first commercial units and begin the journey to achieving our target product cost of $25 per kilowatt hour. The timeline of our pilot would integrate well with the Free Electrons program, leveraging it to find an ideal utility partner and end user. And once the pilot design and manufacture are complete, testing would be carried out in the first half of 2025. Our team's uniquely positioned to solve this problem. We have a combined experience in business, sustainability, and science. We're a pre-commercial startup that was born in Canada's first clean tech venture studio called BX Ventures. Our core technology was developed in the world-leading alternative fuels lab of McGill University. And the lab's founder, Jeff Berg-Thorson, is chief scientific officer and is joined by the investors and passionate and skilled engineering team. The technical team's complemented by seasoned executive entrepreneurs with deep industry experience from top energy companies. Together, our team is passionate, diverse, and talented, fully ready and committed to our ironclad promise of empowering industry decarbonization. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hayden. We'll now open for Q&A.
Hey Hayden, Conor O'Brien here from ESB. A couple of questions. Good presentation. Right now, your TRL level?
Yeah, we're about TRL 4 now.
4, okay, so lab-based, okay. So what are the top 3 milestones before you achieve full-scale solution for the market?
Well, we want the pilot to basically be the next step. So we feel like we've demonstrated system reactor reliability, I would say, is what we're working on our prototype, our lab scale demonstrator. And this next step, really the first milestone, is to find a customer for and build the pilot. So we're talking about a sub 100 kilowatt scale pilot. And that's really the most important thing that we want to do as a next step.
Okay, and geographically, are you limited as to where you do that pilot?
We're not limited. We would prefer doing it in North America. Europe would be a second choice. However, we're not limited, and we're definitely open to suggestions, and the utilities know their markets, and so we're willing to look and explore options there.
Okay, in terms of cost advantage of your technology, how does that compare to other iron-based solutions?
So, like, Form Energy is the primary iron-based solution that most people know about. It's a flow battery. It has an electrolyte, and its cost target, they're trying to get to $25 a kilowatt hour, so $25 a kilowatt hour. We think we can compete with that. We think we can get to that similar price point. However, we're going to have a more dense solution because we don't have an electrolyte. We have a solid state storage solution. So density will give us a foot up on form. And the other thing is the output of our solution is heat and not electricity. So for thermal applications, like industrial processes, for example, we think we can have a niche there that would be better than form, as an example.
Yeah, you've kind of answered my next question, which is what industry is that sweet spot?
Yeah, so industrial applications up to 900 C is the sweet spot. You have petrochemical cracking and other hydrocarbon cracking applications on the high end of that temperature range. Lower temperature range, refining of oil and gas, vulcanization of rubber. Also, we see that in the drying of industrial processes, drying of different types of extracted minerals or non-ferrous metals, for example. These are process applications that we could serve. And then going all the way down to the low end of temperature in food and beverage or pulp and paper, those temperature ranges are also definitely serviceable by our solution. We also think building heat is an attractive solution in certain very cold climate markets, because we can basically mitigate the need for the most power when it is most cold. We can take the use off grid, basically.
Okay, very quick. How do you along partnership? How would that work?
I'm hearing a little bit of background noise. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
So I'm just saying, how would you envisage a partnership with our utility?
Yeah, I would envision a partnership, basically finding a utility that has a need to deploy these types of solutions for their customers, and basically working together to first identify the use case for the pilot. And then we would basically work together, ideally with financing or a subsidy to support the deployment of the pilot from the utility. The sort of mitigated power demand is where we see the biggest advantage for the utility. And as a result of that, we would hope that the utility would be willing to sort of partner with us to inject capital to help make this happen, but more importantly, in kind, to sort of find and then integrate the solution for their customer, for the end user.
Anybody else have a question?
Anyone else?
Okay, jump in. Anybody else online?
Can you explain more, like, why do you think the duration can be that long? You mentioned like the energy stored in iron can hold even for months or years.
Yeah, the solution is in essence a redox cycle. So the oxidation of iron is what releases its energy, and it requires a specific sort of starting process that is proprietary to our reactor. Once initiated, the energy comes out, but until it's initiated, no energy is released. So the storage duration can be very, very long without losses. And then once we've actually initiated the reaction, it's customizable. We can store energy and release that energy for a day, for 2 days, for 20 days. So it's really, we can design the system to have a flexible amount of storage capacity in terms of duration, hours of storage or days of storage.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Aidan.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Thank you all. Thank you all for your time. I really appreciate being a part of this. It was wonderful.
Cheers. Pleasure to meet you. And if you join Diana in the other room, she'll give you some further instructions on next steps. Best of luck. Thank you for your pitch.
Likewise. Thank you for your time. Take care.
Thank you. And I think it's strong. And for the last startup of the day, so we have Philip joining us from Electrified Thermal Solutions. Hi, Philip.
Hello.
Online. How are you doing today?
I'm great.
Maria here from the Free Electrons team.
I'm sorry?
Maria here from the Free Electrons team. We have a full room of people, some
Great.
joining online as well. Very eager to learn more about your solution. Whenever
Great.
you're ready.
Excellent. Can you guys see my screen?
Perfectly.
Excellent. Okay. I'm going to run through a relatively shortened version so that we have plenty of time to chat. So Electrified Thermal Solutions, we are a thermal battery. And so I'm I guess assuming that I'm not the first thermal battery you've probably heard from. So our mission is to decarbonize industry with electrified heat. There's sort of two sides to the coin with electrification, obviously. So we're focused on helping industry find an affordable way to decarbonize their heat, but also have a number of advantages for utilities in terms of balancing intermittent generation and dealing with sort of limited transmission and the fact that the alternative of sort of electrochemistry batteries on the generation side are quite expensive. So we have the advantage that electricity is now, getting cheaper, at least intermittent, but firming it and turning it into heat are challenges that we help solve. So the biggest differentiator between our thermal battery and the others you'll hear about is that we can not only store at 1800 degrees Celsius or 3300 Fahrenheit, but we can deliver those temperatures. And while that's important for call it a steel industry plant or something because it means they can actually electrify. It's also important at lower temperatures because it's a measure of energy density. So the hotter you get, the less expensive your product is, the smaller the footprint it is, et cetera, making us the most efficient thermal battery that one can have. It also means that we have the temperatures required to drive a gas turbine, making us a drop-in replacement for natural gas currently used to power gas turbine plants. So, the simplest version of our solution is, buying cheap off-peak electricity, essentially load shifting, and basically dispatchable load. Our first form factor is basically a shipping container sized box. The big thing that differentiates us, and this is technology developed out of MIT, for which we have the exclusive license, our CEO developed it as a PhD student, is that when you talk about thermal batteries, most people focus on the storage mediums, so bricks, rocks, molten salt, etc. That's actually kind of the easy part, right? That's all just stuff in nature that's really good at storing energy. The real choke point for thermal batteries to be effective is the heating elements, the things that convert electricity into heat. That's what limits the temperature you can get to, because they all oxidize. So our breakthrough is that we actually changed the chemistry just a little bit of existing refractory bricks that are made of oxides. They actually directly convert the electricity to heat. So we put an electrode right into these green bricks, and they actually carry the current as an electrical circuit of electricity through and joule heat up, which means they don't oxidize. And that means we can get up to 1800 C durably and operate it for decades. That's what makes the big difference. That allows for the higher temperature, the higher efficiency, and sort of a whole different sort of class of performance. While we plan on starting out with these boxes or move forward with these boxes, ultimately we style ourselves off of steel blast stoves that already use bricks to deliver consistent heat to processes. And when we build up, it's going to have huge implications for capacity. So, but again, because of the high temperatures we're doing, our densities are much higher. And in just a 10-meter shipping container, 40-foot shipping container, we're storing 25 megawatt hours when we're delivering 900 C. We're delivering a lower temperature, it's even higher. And with a 7 to 8 meter diameter tower, we'll be storing gigawatt hours of energy. So again, a whole different level of power delivery that can enable things like natural gas plants that become giant grid batteries, or steel plants that are run on electric heat. Our system is relatively straightforward. We blow air in, it comes out extremely hot. We then downblend it to deliver whatever the required temperature is. It can charge and discharge simultaneously, and we deliver heat, not steam. So we can go into a gas boiler, but we can also go into any other type of process. So it's extremely flexible. We can, as I said before, do cogeneration with steam, but we can also directly deliver our hot gas into a gas turbine, turning existing, otherwise potentially stranded assets into grid batteries at very low cost. So in terms of our fuel source, one thing we just like to point out is that as more renewables are added to the grid, this phenomena of these dots are representing when negative pricing, electricity gets priced negatively, so you get paid to use the power. But more interesting, if you look at it from 2018 to 2022, you see that everywhere it gets darker year after year, meaning that the commodity that feeds our system, which is not electricity, not the average electricity price, but off-peak, is actually getting cheaper every year consistently. In terms of our development as a company, we have won a DOE grant as of about a month ago that is going to co-fund both our demonstration that will be operating at the end of this year, will move us from TRL 6 to 8, and then our first on-site with a customer next year, essentially getting us to commercial. So we're scaling extremely quickly because of the simplicity of our solution. So we sort of have two areas where we can help and ways we can work with utilities that we're really interested in. One is if we work with your customers, we can make all of that load they want to electrify dispatchable. So it won't affect your peak. We can tuck all that energy use under your existing peak. And we can work with you to look at turning your existing gas plants into giant grid batteries. And both of these things we can do more cost effectively than other solutions that are currently out there being discussed. And I will stop with 5 seconds to spare. I don't know if I've ever gone under before. Thank you.
On time. Thank you, Philip. So we're ready to open for Q&A. Hydro-Quebec.
Yes. Hello, Philippe. Sylvain Labonté from Hydro-Quebec. Very nice presentation. Thank you very much. Very interesting pitch. A few questions here. Can you tell us a bit more about the duration of the storage? So how does the duration of the storage affect the global efficiency of your thermal battery?
in terms of hours, days, or weeks?
Sure. So our system basically, in a standard configuration, if you didn't charge or discharge it, would lose about 2% of its charge a day. Now, we can actually make it so it loses even less, but it's just a cost benefit of insulation. But ultimately, the number of hours that you want is sort of basically completely flexible, right? We just add bricks or remove bricks. And with a single system, you just adjust your charge duration to your discharge duration, right? The lower, you basically kind of derate the system, so you just need more of them to achieve whatever level. So in theory, you can do this for weeks, you can do it for days, and really the only metric is that longer period. You're going to have this very slight amount of, again, 2% every 24 hours of loss, unless we increase cost to make that even longer. Does that make sense?
Yep. What is the expected cost per kilowatt hour?
So at
storage, yep.
Yeah, so smaller scale, nth of a kind will start at sort of $80 a kilowatt hour, but at large scale will be well under $50 a kilowatt hour. And I mean, frankly, we're sort of targeting 30, 40. We're just not ready to tell people that's the price until we build our first one.
Life expectancy, you mentioned a decade for the life of the brick. How many cycles have you gone through so far to come up with this figure?
We've done, so a lot of our knowledge actually comes off of the glass and steel industry's knowledge about thermal cycling, because it's actually the thermal expansion and contraction of the bricks that we're concerned with. In both cases, I think the best example is the steel blast stoves, which get retrofitted every 30 to 40 years. Our target is 20 years. What we've been able to do and prove so far is we've basically done tens of cycles and thousands of hours at this point. And then obviously, we can't run it for 30 years to check, but then, looking at the materials closely and basically being able to sort of ascertain the extent to which they've been, have defects or issues. But we're pretty comfortable we'll be able to get over 20 years.
I have a couple of more questions.
Any other questions?
Yeah. If a brick cracks, for instance, because thermal expansion, in case of thermal shock, for instance, I don't know if something that you have considered, would it be easy to replace the brick, or what kind of maintenance can we expect to do on such an equipment?
Right. So there's a number of different ways that we're addressing that. One is we don't have sort of the Christmas tree effect, right, where we have a modularity and parallel, so that we can have failures within it with only very moderate impacts to the system. You still, even with a cracked brick, if it affects the conductivity, you're still getting all of the thermal aspect of it. So there's that factor. But two, we're also designing to enable so that individual sort of like columns can be removed if and when needed. We also have the ability to just add modules on the end if there's circumstances where that's simpler. So there's a variety of approaches. We're sort of building in redundancy on that front.
Okay. No other questions? So I think it's a wrap. Thank you very much for joining us, Philip, today. It was a pleasure to learn more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
We wish you the best luck, and Diana will be in the other room to give you the next steps. So thank you again, and have a lovely day.